What action movies look like without special effects. Hey everyone, let's welcome back to The Screeny. Scenes we see in our favorite movies often have nothing to do with the worlds we live in, but they sure look real as hell. Visual effects innovators spent decades perfecting the art of deception, using green screens and CGI every step of the way. Fantastic creatures and stunning landscapes we see on the big screen may be fake, but that doesn't mean magic wasn't involved in their creation. Let's take a look at what action movies look like without special effects. Don't forget to press the subscribe button to discover more secrets behind your favorite movies and TV shows. Number 10. Furious 7.
Let's make it fun.
No problem. They put us inside of this rig.
All of the movies in the Fast and Furious franchise involve elaborate special effects. All the craziness going on screen would be impossible to pull off without them, but there's something that sets Furious 7 apart. Paul Walker passed away before this film was finished, and the news of his tragic death took the whole world by storm. Director James Wan did his best to put on a brave face every time he showed up to set and finished this movie to honor the late actor's legacy. Wan was able to complete filming with the help of Paul's brothers, Cody and Caleb, and some extensive special effects. He hired Walker's siblings as stand-ins thanks to their strong resemblance to their late brother. The visual effects house Weta Digital used very complicated graphics and technology to create an accurate rendering of Paul's face for the movie. His face was then superimposed over the bodies of his brothers in 360-degree visual effects shots, with some of them using outtakes or older footage. Number 9. Inception.
It tends to be a different orientation, a completely different rig in each shot, and I think that more than anything else.
Inception is one of the most mind-blowing and visually stunning films in cinematic history, but none of that would have been possible without special effects artists doing their magic. Christopher Nolan could easily get away with doing each and every scene in CGI, but he was never a fan of this technique. The renowned director always tried to film everything he could on camera and use computer graphics to enhance the experience when needed. Visual luminaries working on this dreams within dream thriller used a blend of live action and digital animation to make this story come to life. CG-based effects were used during fight scenes that took place in zero gravity because it was the best way to subtly bend physics, space, and time. The iconic Paris folding sequence also proved to be extremely challenging, but the visual effects supervisor came up with the idea to create a rough computer animation of this scene, which was just a one-liner in the script. At the end of the day, Inception ended up looking spectacular without the extensive use of CGI. Number 8. Mad Max Fury Road. This post-apocalyptic action flick redefined modern blockbusters as we know them. But the visionary storytelling and amazing performances weren't the only things it impressed us with. Fury Road went on to win 6 Oscars in technical categories, but it failed to score a visual effects category. This loss took many people by surprise, but some fans of the movie saw it coming since George Miller used a pretty unconventional approach in this area. Unlike a majority of modern action directors who rely heavily on CGI, he opted for using practical effects. Miller hired 150 stunt performers to get the job done, and their tireless work is one of the main reasons why Fury Road looked so authentic. Raw footage from set showed those absolutely insane crashes, explosions, and flips we've seen on screen were actually taking place in real time. All the shots were later color corrected and enhanced with seamlessly blended CGI landscapes, dust storms, and flames, but all the vehicles used in the movie were actually custom made and fully functional. Number 7. The Avengers. If you
Spheres in, we would project it onto the geometry, and that would give us a nice base to start from. We would get some pretty good results very quickly.
think the Hulk is the greenest thing on the set of the Avengers, we're here to prove you wrong. The actors who brought the most popular superhero ensemble to life were actually surrounded with more green screens than anyone can count. Visual effects supervisor Jeff White and his team tricked us into thinking Tony Stark and his buddies were fighting Loki on the streets of New York. In reality, they were safe and sound on the green screen set in New Mexico. Shooting the movie in the Big Apple was practically impossible, so the visual effects team took thousands of pictures of the New York skyline and used them to bring the city to life. It wasn't even their biggest challenge. Once again, the Hulk proved to be the most difficult of all the Avengers. The designer spent a lot of time working on his skin, hair, and teeth, trying to make the raging green monster as believable as possible. Mark Ruffalo transformed into this character by wearing a motion capture suit and said it made him feel like a miserable bastard. He eventually got over the initial embarrassment and returned to the role of Bruce Banner over and over again. Number 6. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Star Wars wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the team of visual effects artists pulling the strings. As technology developed, they were able to make the movies in this franchise even more phenomenal and really brought their A-game with The Force Awakens. Despite the fact he could use all the CGI in the world, J.J. Abrams wanted to stay true to the aesthetic feel of the original trilogy and decided to rely on real locations and scale models instead. The leading visual effects company in the industry, Industrial Light and Magic, which was established when the first film in the Star Wars franchise came out, was also behind this masterpiece. They once again pushed the boundaries of what was possible in character animation with this project, but modern technology made it easier for them to take us to a galaxy far, far away. Since it's the 21st century after all, some of the sequences were CGI driven, but Abrams found a way to not go overboard with them and make the experience as authentic as possible. Number 5. Alice in Wonderland. Tim Burton's movies often look too good to be true, and his adaptation of Lewis Carroll's classic novel was no exception. It was the first time that quirky director used green screens, and let's just say it was a go big or go home type of situation. 90% of the film was completed on the green screen set, and actors constantly felt sick and nauseated after being surrounded by the fluorescent color all day long. This took a toll on Burton too, and he ended up putting on special lavender lenses onto his glasses to make the filming process less exhausting. The special effects artist avoided motion capture and mostly used a combination of live action and animation to make Alice's journey through the rabbit hole more convincing. They blended these two techniques together to make her interactions with a bunch of surreal characters incredibly real. Digital shapeshifting was an essential part of the process, which was best illustrated with the Red Queen's enormous head that was basically copy-pasted onto her normal body. Number 4. Jurassic World. This one doesn't really come as a surprise, but the dinosaurs on the set of Jurassic World weren't real. There was a lot of CGI involved in bringing them to life, but the director Colin Trevorrow still found a way to add a human touch to the whole thing. Since technology changed a lot since the last film in the franchise came out, his team had to build everything from the ground up. For the first time in the history of dinosaur movies, they used motion capture along the way. Human actors performed animal movements that were then computer-generated during post-production. Having no one to play against made things pretty weird for the actors, who had to imagine the creatures were there. Trevorrow tried to make things easier by using cardboard cutouts and tennis balls on sticks to replace the dinosaurs, but we're pretty sure it often led to a hilarious outcome. There's still one thing about this movie that was 100% legit: Bryce Dallas Howard running around the jungle in high heels. Number 3. Black Panther. The visual effects artists working for Marvel have gotten used to creating otherworldly science fiction designs, but Black Panther proved to be more challenging than the rest of the action flair in this franchise. Unlike a majority of the futuristic landscapes they created in the past, Wakanda had to be more authentic to African culture and geography, and required a different approach. Uganda served as the main inspiration for this fictional country, but the team of visual designers also used aerial footage filmed around South Africa, Zambia, and even South Korea. Despite its critical acclaim and box office success, even the biggest fans of Black Panther agree it went a little bit too far with the use of CGI. Wakanda as we know it would have never even existed if it wasn't for the extensive usage of blue screens that brought this paradise on Earth to life. Many of the film's vehicles, weapons, and creatures were created digitally, including the unforgettable rhinoceros from the final battle. Number 2. The Jungle Book. Live-action remakes of Disney classics and elaborate special effects go hand in hand. The Jungle Book really sets a new standard for CGI and went on to receive an Oscar for the best achievement in visual effects thanks to finding just the right balance. This visually arresting take on Rudyard Kipling's classic tale takes us to the heart of the jungle, but it was actually filmed on a soundstage in LA. All the animal characters we grew up loving were created entirely in computer feature animation this time around. Footage of real animal movements was a reference point to make them as realistic as possible. Jon Favreau found a way to help the young actor playing Mowgli by using animal puppet figures to give him something to act against. He was the one carrying the whole movie on his shoulders, and the filmmaker wanted to make sure he's enjoying the experience. Number 1. The Lord of the Rings. It's been almost 2 decades since the first Lord of the Rings film hit the theaters, but watching them is still a visual feast. Peter Jackson's trilogy changed cinema landscapes as we know it and pioneered several groundbreaking techniques that are still around to this day. Unlike a majority of modern action flicks that use around 2,000 visual effects shots, The Fellowship of the Ring had just 480 and still looked more stunning than most movies coming out today. The Lord of the Rings forged a breakthrough in the world of cinematic visual effects and proved to the world that all effects are special. Instead of fully relying on CGI to bring Middle-earth to life, the visionaries behind this franchise used miniature sets, prosthetics, and plain old visual trickery. These movies also revolutionized modern digital effects by introducing us to motion capture through Andy Serkis's masterful portrayal of Gollum. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing content, and don't forget to check out one of the other 2 videos on your screen.